Listen, what is the best institution today in the world that talks about leadership a lot? I think what mentorship really means is someone who has that empathy to speak to you. Again, as we said, empathy and not sympathy. We've just had a fantastic collaboration with Penguin Random House, which is one of the, of course, the biggest publishing house in the world. And the top 50 school students from across the country will get an opportunity to get their own published book by Penguin. We've been running these conferences for the last 6 years.
Namaste everyone and welcome back to Suchitra Academy, a place where we bring voices that give you leadership, learning and growth. My name is Darpar Reddy and joined by my side is Mr. Rishi Jalan, the founder and CEO of Big Red Education, an organization that connects students all across the world to one-of-a-kind learning experiences done by Harvard mentors. Mr. Jalan is a graduate at the Cornell University of New York, a national level squash player, and occasionally contributes towards esteemed publications such as the Huffington Post and the Times of India. And we are especially excited to have him here because Suchitra Academy has collaborated with Big Red Education to form the Leadership Bootcamp by Harvard Mentors, powered by Big Red Education, of course, from January 13th to January 16th. Now let us dive into this journey and let's understand what students can think when undergoing this mentorship. Namaste, Mr. Jalan. Welcome to the show, and we are so delighted to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Namaste Darpar, and thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, so I have here a bunch of questions that I wish to ask you. So if you don't mind and feel comfortable, I hope you can provide us some insights.
I'll try my best and yeah.
Okay, for starting off, you had a rich academic and professional journey. What inspired you to start Big Red Education?
Well, firstly, I have been really blessed and honored to actually have very diverse learning experiences, and I want to highlight that, and that plays a big role for why I started Big Red as well. My first love, I would say, was my first boarding school called Mayo College, which is in Ajmer, beautiful valley, gets really hot, but also a great institution spread in 400 acres. Spent about 6 years of my life there. Learned my second love, which was squash, at that particular school. And from there on, went to another boarding school in the US called Phillips Academy, Andover. This is sort of a school where, again, I was very lucky to get full scholarship to go there. This is a school where George Bush's, Mark Zuckerberg, these kind of people have gone in. And my love, why it's really important, even more than Cornell, which I'll come to later, is I learned and I got to study courses like sports philosophy, African drumming, and just public speaking was actually a big course there. And it was love for those courses that actually made me think about reinventing school education. And from there on, my last academic experience was at Cornell University, which is upstate New York. It had a great squash team and a great economics program, especially on game theory that I was really interested in. And yeah, so that was the first part of the question. A lot of different academic experiences. And why Big Red was really out of chance, but the idea was always to see this big gap in the country where people were so excited to do a lot more in their school, high school, or school time experiences, but were not able to get that opportunity. And that's what led me to start Big Red, where I thought, why not get mentors from around the world to come to India, to come to Southeast Asia, and have some great mentorship opportunities for young students.
Wonderful. Okay, so my second question is, as someone who's represented your university in sports, what lessons from squash have stayed with you as a leader and an entrepreneur?
Again, a brilliant question and something I feel I imbibe in my life each and every day. So there are 3 R's of education that we try to imbibe in Big Red. We all talk about that there were 3 R's of education called reading, writing, and arithmetic, right, which is mathematics. The new 3 R's of education for us is resilience, relationships, and sort of reimagination. And that's what I feel that sports teaches you at every level, especially when we talk about resilience. I think young people today, we need to learn how to fail each and every day, which you do, especially as an athlete. And you're not telling yourself every day that, oh my God, I lost. You're telling yourself that I will become better and go back with the same confidence, the same gusto on the next day. So I feel those skills are very important. Again, relationship, when I say when you are able to collaborate with your team on a sports field, you're able to get those same characteristics back into your classroom, into your everyday life, which again is very important. So for me, as I said, these relationship and resilience are really some of the main tools in today's world that students are able to learn and that I got to imbibe by playing sports all my life.
Oh, well, that's very good to know. Big Red Education has been a name that is synonymous with mentorship and innovation in learning. So one question is, what's the core idea behind Big Red Education? And how does it help students think beyond traditional academics, like the ones that learn from their textbooks, blackboards, in this case, whiteboards we have. But yeah.
True. Well, again, my job as a CEO and founder of the company is to constantly innovate, constantly come up with new ideas. And some of the times it's through leadership and social innovation. But a lot of times it might be through entrepreneurship. The one good part that we have always tried to do from the beginning of when we founded this organization was go beyond traditional subjects. So of course, today everyone wants to become a leader. Everyone wants to become an entrepreneur. But I think in Big Red, we always try to push that boundary a little further. And to give you an example, we've just had a fantastic collaboration with Penguin Random House, which is one of the, of course, the biggest publishing house in the world. And we have a creative writing workshop that we're conducting with some brilliant Penguin authors, and at the same time running a national level writing competition with them as well. And the top 50 school students from across the country will get an opportunity to get their own published book by Penguin. So that was one interesting program that we have run. Second one was called The Business of Sports. So we tied up with Deakin University and with Rajasthan Royals, where each student got to learn from 13 professors of Deakin University, which is in Melbourne, Australia, got to learn from psychology of sports to the business of sports, journalism in sports, all of these things together, because not everyone wants to be an athlete or a professional athlete, right? Yeah. So it's courses like these, and then learning from Rajasthan Royals. They did an internship with Rajasthan Royals. So it's things like these that really makes us keep pushing the boundaries and look at mentorship with a very, very different lens. Yeah.
So your core idea is just to break the mold.
That's correct. And really reimagining every step of the way as to how and what kind of programs and courses or workshops can we run that just go beyond traditional sort of learning environment of schools.
That is great to know. Okay, you often speak about mentorship as a key element in learning. But in your view, how does guidance from Harvard members help provide to the students? What does it provide to the students?
I think mentorship is a much bigger concept than guidance. I think what mentorship really means is someone who has that empathy to speak to you. Again, as we said, empathy and not sympathy is to really put themselves in your shoes, right? And I was just speaking about this in my talk right before I came for this podcast, was that for all of my other programs, we get professors to come and teach. Even we have leadership programs where our professors and coming down and teaching from the university. But for this particular program, specifically with Harvard Mentors, I thought, listen, what is the best institution today in the world that talks about leadership a lot? And when I thought about Harvard, I said, you know what, let's not bring older mentors or professors to come in, but let's get some young students who might be from the Harvard Business School, who might be from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, who might be from Harvard College, which is the undergrad section of Harvard University. Why not let these students come in, share their own stories, and at the same time, they know what you are going through as a high school student. So the way, because they were in your shoes not so long ago. They've been there before and they've done that and they've done some amazing things. And again, it's learning about, from your perspective, their life stories. And I thought that balance was really amazing for someone to come in and talk about leadership in a very contemporary manner and in a manner that a young high school student understands, by not just saying, listen, someone is giving me a lecture on do this or do that, but really becoming my co-conspirator in this journey of leadership and sort of some of these relationships that will go on even after the program or the conference ends.
So essentially the students will not just be bored by another lecture, they will actually just think of, wait, this senior has been in my shoes, let me see what I can learn from him.
That's correct. So that's one part of it, which is, as you said, the mentorship element. And of course, the program has been crafted very beautifully, and we've been running these conferences for the last 6 years. And every summer and winter, we try to keep redesigning the conference curriculum or the schedule, right? And again, the beautiful part is that these mentors help us create this content and bring their own expertise into it. So it's ever evolving. There are a lot of case studies, there are a lot of group activities, there are collaboration, and towards the end, there is a social change project that we want students to work on and develop in these 4 days, which is pretty exciting as well.
I'm excited too. Okay. And not just me, but we are all thrilled to know that Suchitra Academy has been in a collaboration with such a big and well-known internship and mentorship institute. Could you give our listeners a glimpse of what the bootcamp experience will be like? Just a tease.
Sure. So as I said, we have 4 mentors from Harvard coming in to deliver this program. The day one, and I was telling this to students, it is going to be pretty extensive or intensive really, because it goes on from morning 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a 1 hour lunch break in the middle. So we really like to push our students, but at the same time, we do tell all of our students that, listen, you are going to have a lot of fun, right? And there are going to be a lot of friendships made. Now, coming to the more academic part of the conference, day one, of course, begins with definition of leadership, defining leadership in their own ways. You go back into your rooms and work in groups to come up with who is a good leader? What truly is leadership from your lens, from your perspective? You're really honing and defining your own definition of leadership. For example, there was a big survey that happened with the top 250 CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and not a single person defined leadership in the same way. And that's what we are trying to tell the students as well. So it starts with that and then moves on with a lot of case studies, a lot of negotiation activities. There is a personality test, not the old boring personality tests that we've been used to, but really defining personalities in the 21st century, especially in the last 5 years, and what can students think of and expect. And then through the course of day 2, day 3, day 4, students are really honing on their collaboration skills with other students, and they start working on and ideating on one local challenge that is being faced maybe in their school, in their local community, maybe in Hyderabad, maybe in south of India. And then they're able to work with these mentors to come with a feasible solution that can be done. Again, you're not trying to solve the world's problem, but you're trying to solve a problem through your own lens that is personal, and sort of some of the steps that as a high school student you can do, which I feel, again, people feel that you can't solve a problem as a high school student, which is not true. I think there's a lot you can do here. For example, we are doing a podcast here, and you've transformed it in your own way as a school student, right? Which is meant for your own community. So I feel there's a lot of power in that. And through these 4 days, of course, the mentorship and that support, that anytime you get stuck, you're going to your mentor and saying, hey, can you hear me out? Or maybe if you're in 11th class or in 12th grade, you're going to that mentor and saying, hey, can you maybe also give me some tips about college and what can I go study there? So that's why we don't call them professors or we don't call them teachers. We call them mentors, because both in and outside of the classroom, they're truly your guides, in both in an academic setting or in sort of a non-professional setting as well. So these are 3 or 4 things, as I said: leadership, collaboration as sort of the broad topics, but at the same time, a lot of case studies, a lot of negotiation activities, public speaking, workshops that you will do through this conference.
Me personally, whenever I look at a teacher, I just don't think of them as just some random guide who's just teaching things on a board. I just look at them as a friend, which is why I actually have a lot of teachers who are my friends. So your idea is making student-mentor relations actually matter rather than just tell questions, give answers type of relationship. You want it to be like a friendly relation throughout this internship.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Apart from the friendship thing I just mentioned, what type of growth or change will you expect for students to receive during this mentorship?
Well, it's really each to its own. I would hope that the one thing that every student is able to take back with them is a sense of motivation and a sense of self-worth. As I said, that for me, every student is an amazing person and has some amazing capabilities that they just need to understand, and someone to point that out to them. So I feel one thing you can take back from this conference is being a little closer to knowing what you're good at, and at the same time being very open to different ideas and collaboration. I think collaboration is one very important thing, because we randomize these groups, we put them with people maybe who are not their friends, right? And it's a completely new environment for them. So I feel maybe understanding yourself a little bit more, and of course collaborating in a very different way, are at least 2 things that you will take back from this conference, and hopefully also get a little motivated for social change, or get motivated to really do some sort of it could be in a business setting or in a social setting, but try to make some change in the world and get motivated through it.
Wonderful. Before we wrap up, we actually want to know a quick sneak peeks into your life. You enjoy exploring food and writing stories. And how do these hobbies influence your creative side as a leader? Because we know that in order to be a leader, one must have a creative approach to solve problems.
Well, I think, as I said, for example, because I was creative, or I really liked writing, for example, so I transformed it a little bit more later on. As you said, I wrote short stories for Huffington Post, and that I never wanted writing to stop. So I started writing blogs. How these creative things, or I'm a foodie as well, right? As you mentioned. So I think when I think of my creative side, the way I'm able to harness these energies is, of course, bringing people together. Maybe I'll organize things in the office or in the organization, where maybe we're meeting a little bit more often to have some good food together. This writing program, as I said, because I was fascinated by it, I got to also think that, listen, why can't we get a writing program for young high school students? So I think it's really a blend of both. One is the skill part of thing, and one is the experience. So I feel that I try to bring both to come in and inspire sort of what I'm doing in the future. And both sort of being, as I said, creative, but also persevering through a lot of ups and downs as an entrepreneur and as an athlete has helped me to do that. So yeah, I think both in the creative field and in terms of just pushing through and working, both food, writing, and squash has helped me through that journey.
Me personally, I like to think of a leader having mainly 2 qualities. One being, as you mentioned, having a creative side, and two, a person who undergoes resilience and perseverance through problems along with his fellow members, not allow his members to take the blunt of every single fall. You know, the leader has responsibility. He takes the blame as well, unlike a boss. So that's my definition of a leader.
That's true. I mean, we have this funny thing in our organization where I tell everyone that everyone should be responsible, maybe, but only one person is accountable, right? A lot of times it comes to a leader, and at the same time, I'm very, like, as you said, creative versus, I think I'm a little bit more I'm a salesperson, maybe, or you could say that I'm better with people. So I try to manage those relationships a lot more and let other people and their creative sides come a lot more in those creative meetings when we have. Of course, in the end, you want to take a decision, but again, something I've learned as a leader is to put right people in the right things. And then when you're in a meeting, even though it's your decision, a lot of times, let the creative people talk through that creative process and sort of.
You just provide insights after the creative people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. One last thing. One message you'd like to share with our listeners who aspire to make an impact to the world. What advice do you have for these young impact makers?
Well, I was just sharing this with young students, especially in grade 8 and 9 students there, that whether it is you delving yourself into this, 4-day, 5-day conference, but more than anything, I mean, I do not like the word profile building so much because
sounds corporate, I guess?
Sounds corporate, sounds very, you're doing something with the motive.
Forced.
Or with the motive to get into the best colleges. And I know that for our young listeners, colleges might seem the end of the world, but I feel that whatever I've been good at in my life was always done, or the things I tried to experience. For example, I learned classical music for about 3 to 4 years. I played squash, or I tried to do some cooking, whatever it is. I think it was always because I just wanted to learn something. And it was not that I will become better at it, or maybe I'll play for India one day, but it was just because I loved it. And I feel that every summer and winter, all our young students should just keep trying to do something different, or even if it's the same thing, try to become better at it, and colleges will follow. A great life will follow. And as I said, once again, it might seem that colleges are the end of your, if you get into a great college, but this sort of race never ends, right? You'll get into a great college, then you'll get your great first job, then you will get, so this is a long life, and I think keep doing things because you really want to become better, or you really want to do it. And also just try to keep putting yourself in uncomfortable positions. Maybe this is something you don't like, but once you try doing it, you might enjoy it. So I think those are at least 2 or 3 things that I've tried to live my life by, and have been satisfied through it.
Because there is a phrase for a movie called 3 Idiots where the main character says to his friend, if you don't chase after success and do what you enjoy the most, success will chase after you.
True.
Yeah.
That's yes. I mean, and sometimes even if you're not running after success, as I said, but you should be sure what you're running after, right? So what I mean is, even if success doesn't come to me, and again, this is a little bit more philosophical from that point. Of course, our listeners want to be successful, but the definition of successful from, I'm 34 years old today becomes a lot different than what it was for me when you're 17 years old. And so what I'm trying to say is run after some of the things that you are passionate about. Not to just be successful, right? But just to say that, listen, I will learn from it. And yeah, whatever that definition of success is, maybe I also still don't know, will come to you in one way or the other. But the idea is that at least you'll be content and happy of some of the choices you're making in your life through it.
So your ideology is just to, be happy with what you have.
Yes. And, clearly, I was never happy when I was your age, right? So the idea, as I said, is just to keep exploring. I think that's the number one idea, and persevering through. If I put my mind to something, don't leave it. I have this one quote, not quote, but earlier we used to say jack of all and master of none. I think in today's context, in the 21st century, it's
important to be a jack of all trades.
Jack of all and a master of one, right? So the idea, even though I did classical music, I did dance, I did debating in school, I did all of those things. Squash was my main focus. And I think for all the younger students, once again, the idea is to keep exploring, and hopefully you will become a master of one, maybe if not in school or in college, but maybe later in life. And that's something, again, I've tried to live by in my life.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Jalan. And thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in to this episode of our podcast. And we are sure to hope that you would be joining us on January 13th to January 16th in order for this collaboration of Suchitra Academy and Big Red Education. And you do not want to miss it, because you are going to be led with programs that will change your life for good. This is Darpat Reddy signing off. Until then, keep on learning. Namaste.